All right.
Ready to kick this off. Happy Friday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. It's a Friday birthday live career accelerator Q&A. Just waiting to go live right over here over on Instagram. I think we're coming up hopefully in a minute or so over on YouTube and LinkedIn as well.
Thank you.
Okay, can you hear me okay, everyone? Yes, you can hear me, Jeremy?
Yep. We are live on Instagram.
Great. Happy Friday, everyone. We're just getting settled in. We are going to kick off our weekly Career Accelerator Q&A. We hope you're having a good week so far. We'll give a quick moment for everyone to trickle in. We see some great faces joining us over on Instagram. And we are going to be also streaming across LinkedIn and YouTube. So please choose the platform that you feel most comfortable, guys, asking us your questions. We purposely do it across platforms so that we can really get your questions here, help support you in where you're at. And if you are new here, I'll do a quick introduction. Jeremy, do you see if we're live on LinkedIn already?
We are. Yep.
Yeah?
We're live
Okay,
across
great.
YouTube, Instagram, and LinkedIn.
Okay, perfect. So, welcome everyone. Happy Friday. If you are new here, welcome to our weekly Career Accelerator Q&A. I'm Tiffany. I'm a CEO and career coach, and we focus on helping you level up in your career, get ahead faster, whether that is landing new opportunities, advancing further in your companies, making more money along the way, and of course, everything in between around mastering those soft skills, all the things that we never really learn how to do, but make such an important impact in your own career progression. And of course, we have our amazing Jeremy, my COO on our team, and also former CEO and executive. And we really love how sometimes our Friday sessions together focus a little bit more on leadership topics. We got some really great ones last week. And so we've been thinking about making our Friday live session even more around any topics that come through on leadership, building up that executive presence, rising the ranks, whether internally or externally at a new company, and of course, supporting you guys in your questions. As a quick reminder, we do go live here twice a week, every Wednesday and Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. We were away earlier this week for an amazing business workshop we attended, hosted by Alex and Leila Hormozi, which are two of our really favorite and inspiring entrepreneurs in this space. So we weren't here on Wednesday and we missed you. So we're happy to be back. And as a reminder for everyone joining us, this is your time, okay? There's no such thing as a stupid question. We do ask that they're questions related to career in some way. And of course, if you are thinking of more leadership oriented topics, well, we have Jeremy here who has not only that firsthand experience alongside myself, but we can really help you take some amazing action forward in your goals. So drop your questions over on Instagram, drop your questions over on LinkedIn or YouTube. We're going to see those coming up on our end. So we'll take them one by one. I think we also got some questions ahead of time, but also just want to say hi to Jeff. I see you over on LinkedIn. Thanks so much, Jeff, for joining us here. Jeremy, any thoughts from you that you'd like to share as we wait for some questions to come in too?
No, we're super excited to be here. I could get going right now and read a question we got from Mark. And this is a question that came through our email list. So we have over 27,000 professionals subscribed to our newsletter. If you're not registered, hop on over. We send two amazing newsletters every week. And Mark is asking, what is the best way to transition from an individual contributor role to a people manager role? He currently works in tech, and he just wants some high level thoughts around making that shift. What are people looking for in terms of skills and traits?
Yeah, I love that. Well, I'm gonna answer, Jeremy, but I'd love for you to kick it off because I also know that you've built some incredible teams. You are a great support in our team, not just internally, but also with our clients. So why don't we kind of kick that off with you of some of the things that you find really important in making that transition from individual contributor into people manager? And then I'll definitely share some thoughts as well. And I do want to just say a huge thank you to Helen, who's joining us over on LinkedIn, wishing me a happy birthday today. Thank you. Yes, it is my birthday. And we love spending this time with you guys. So thank you for spending a little bit of my birthday with me.
Amazing. So I'll take this for you, Mark, if you're watching this live or the replay. So, in no particular order, and by the way, everyone, if you caught last week's episode, I always like to structure my answers in threes. It makes it easy to follow. So, one of the things that you want to think about when shifting from an individual contributor role to a people manager role is you want to show and showcase that you're able to set clear goals
Mhm.
for those around you. You're able to inspire the best people in your team or the team that you will essentially inherit or build. And you want to give them the right tools to essentially execute on that. And those three things, right? So the clear goals, the right people, the right resources will allow you and your team to have the biggest impact. Okay. So that's what you're trying to achieve is impact. In other words, driving the business goals forward. What are some of the things that you want to showcase to highlight your ability to do so? Is one, you want to be able to define, articulate, and communicate the mission, the goal, the vision for your team that basically funnels up to the company, the division's primary objective. So, what ends up happening when you transition into a people manager role is now you're interfacing between a team and higher ups, right? So there is a managing up portion now, more so to your responsibilities. The second is you need to define the path and the obstacles for your team, and you really want to get clear on alignment, because what ends up happening is typically when you're managing a team, whenever something comes up, it's typically gonna stem from, is it a vision problem? Is it an alignment problem, an objective problem, the how to? Is it the solutions? And really, what you're doing on a day to day basis is always bringing everyone back to alignment. Okay. So, again, I would encourage you to really think about those three buckets and to highlight that you're able to weave all of this together.
Mm.
And then fundamentally, whether you're in an IC role or a people manager role, communication is the most important skill. And so you really want to hone in on that. You want to sharpen your axe. You want to sharpen your ability to communicate, um, both with your team and those that you report into. So I would say those are some high level thoughts for you, Mark.
Yeah, those are great points, Jeremy. And I love that you talked about the managing up and managing down because I like referring to that as the sandwich effect. When you move from individual contributor to people manager for the first time, it's realistically one of the hardest transitions in your career. I've lived it. I know many of us have lived it. And it's because you're now in a totally different landscape of it's not just about you. Like now you have your team to think about, but you also have managing up as well, right? Your boss's boss. And chances are, if you're in a people manager role, there's even more responsibility on your shoulders to do that managing up effectively. And so don't discount that. Know that it will be a little bit challenging, but I think the points that you shared, Jeremy, are so important. I would say maybe one last consideration if you're thinking to make that bridge from individual contributor to people manager is also getting very clear on the distinctions of what's needed to make that jump. And what I really like recommending to our clients, which has worked really well for them, is actually speaking with people in their organizations or target organizations who are already operating at that more senior level. Understand what helped them get there. What did they do to make that transition? What was most challenging for them? What can you do that will help get you on the radar more actively for that next step? See if there's any roadblocks or gaps that you can actually take action on now that will help you get to there faster. But that intel is so key. I can't emphasize that enough. And then, of course, paired with everything else that Jeremy shared is really useful. Okay, guys. So keep that in mind. Make your path, forge your path, and that's actually something we're going to be diving into in a lot more depth in our upcoming free event. That's actually happening next week. It's one of our most popular events, but we've totally switched up the content on this one because there's a lot of change happening in the market this year. And we want to really share with you guys what our clients are actually doing that's allowing them to land new roles in 4 to 8 weeks on average, really double and triple their rate of their promotions in a 1 to 2 year time frame, and secure amazing 30 to 50% salary raises in what might be considered, a very challenging market. So if that is attracting you. If you're like, hey, I kind of want to learn exactly how to do that, we're going to get really tactical here. And it's specifically in this free event that we're hosting next week. So we would love to have you there. I see Jeremy, I think, already dropped in the link to register over on LinkedIn and YouTube. And if you are joining us over on Instagram, please just comment career right in the comments on our live right now. Just comment career and we will send you the details to join. We have multiple dates and time options, but it is a live event. You don't want to miss it. Once it's gone, it's gone. Okay. So trust us, it's going to serve you very well at this point in the year. Okay. I think we got another question over on Instagram, Jeremy. Is it okay if I hop over there real quick? And then I see we
Let's
got
do
a
it.
great question from Stephanie, which we'll come to in a moment from LinkedIn. Okay, so the question that we got on Instagram, I think it was the first one as I scroll up. It was from Core Ardon, if I'm not mistaken. There we go. Is it okay to take notes into an interview and to leave a binder with information on how you would approach the role, responsibilities, etc.? 100% it is. I know this is a bit of a misconception of, oh, but I should memorize everything or I should have notes when going in. I shouldn't have notes when going into an interview. Here's the thing, right? Your interview is an opportunity to bring your best self forward. And you don't want to get caught up by forgetting things that you want to say or losing track of your main messages or getting sidetracked on what will help you solidify your candidacy for the role. So, if having notes, having a little folder, binder, whatever it is that you can easily reference during the interview, if that's going to help you feel confident, if that's going to help you deliver your messages, and feel even more sure of yourself, do it. And I will say, from an interviewer standpoint, they will appreciate that because it shows that you've prepared. It shows that you're taking this seriously. It shows that you're not wasting their time. And so, if anything, it has a positive perception so long as you don't read it. Okay. That's the big thing. Do not use it as a crutch where it is something that you're constantly looking down and not making eye contact, or something that will compromise the body language that you want to build and the rapport that you're establishing in the interview. But what I normally recommend for this, for Core Ardon, who asked a great question, is try to put your notes in bullet point format. That way, you're not feeling obliged to read anything, but it's something you can easily glance at and keep your notes, your thoughts kind of well succinct, well together. What you could even do as a little pro tip is bulk your answers into categories. That way, based off the types of questions that you get, maybe questions around like, tell me about a time when type of behavioral questions, or things around the functional nature of the role, or things around more of the soft skills, try to group your examples and stories in those buckets on your paper. That way, when you're asked a question, you don't have to scramble and be like, oh gosh, what answer do I give? You can easily glance down, be like, okay, I'm going to use that example. And then you've got your key points there ready to use. I always really recommend having a 3-part structure for your answers. It's an alternative to the STAR method, but it's one that's been very effective for our clients in landing their roles. And it's more of a what, how, result structure. I know Jeremy talked about this last week, the power of threes. And so even as you're structuring answers, that's a great way to do it, of what, how, result. What you did, how you did it, and the result that it brought. So that paired with a very effective note system will actually serve you really well. So long story short, yes, bring it if it's going to help you. Just make sure that you're not using it as a crutch. Yeah, great question. Hopefully that helps.
Mhm.
Let us know. Any additional thoughts for you, Jeremy? Because I know you've interviewed some amazing candidates as well, as CEO of your former company that you built very successfully. Any thoughts on what you would have liked to see? Did that ever throw you off, having someone with notes coming in, or did you see it as a plus?
I think it's a great question. I would only add one last pro tip, which is um, irrespective of the stage upon which you're interviewing, if it's a first interview or you're 3 interviews in, if it's a case study or a panel conversation, always tie it back to the company. Always wrap up your answer as to why you're the solution to this particular hire and how you're going to drive results for that particular business. So always tie that in. So whether that's how your experience ties into the role, how your know-how will deliver results, revenue growth, EBITDA contribution, whatever that may be, but always tied in, because fundamentally, no matter what level of seniority you're applying for, you want to show that you're impact driven, that you're thinking about the company as a whole, and fundamentally that you're making their job easier.
Yeah.
So always tie it back in. That's just, my last pro tip for
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah, I love that. I hope everyone took note of that. I'm also very grateful, guys. I'm seeing so many birthday wishes coming through on Instagram. You're all wonderful. Thank you for joining me here today. I'm feeling very loved, very supported, and really glad that you're spending a little bit of time here with us on my birthday today. So thank you. Okay, Stephanie had a great question. I'm going to go ahead and pull that up here on the screen. Thanks so much, Stephanie, for joining us. How would you frame the priority of managing a cross/peer network and collaborating across departments? Okay, so it depends a little bit, Stephanie, based off of your work, your goals, the scope of what you're handling inside. But I will say it's not necessarily that one is more important than the other in terms of priority. They're both needed, but it's likely in what level that you need to dedicate that time and energy to. I will say from my own lived experience working, many years at L'Oreal and growing our own teams and working cross-functionally across our entire country, and then also supporting our clients day in and day out with a lot of these very important and nuanced elements within a workplace. Collaborating across departments is huge. It's actually something we're going to be diving into in more depth in our masterclass event, our free event next week, because it's that important, right? So yes, you're going to have your pure network, maybe your more immediate network internally, externally from your company, and that is always important to keep intact because those are probably the people that are closest to you. That will be maybe the best chances for immediate allies and advocates and supporters in your corner. But collaborating across departments is essential for a few reasons. The first is unless you're working in a very siloed work environment, you're going to need that collaboration to do your role effectively and possibly for your team to run effectively as well. Second is the more that you align and understand what your cross departments are being evaluated against and what's important for them, the better you can actually meet their needs in how you work together. I'll give a really quick example. When I was at L'Oreal, I was in the marketing function, but we worked really closely with our supply chain teams. I mean, they were like the magic behind everything that got our products out to stores, that work hand in hand with our retailers and distributors. And obviously, our supply chain team was one big team that worked with all of the brands inside the company. And there were a lot of pressures on getting things out at a certain time. But because myself and by default, the way I train my teams took the intentional effort to really understand what our supply chain team members valued, what mattered to them, what key performance indicators they were evaluated against, we understood on the other end of how best to work with them, how to speak their language, how to help them help us, and in return, help them as well. And so when it came to these pivotal moments of urgency, of putting out fires, of last minute delays, they were very keen to support me and my team because we were so understanding and empathic of what they needed ongoing, even outside of that period. And that is the power of collaborating across departments. And the third piece I will say that's the cherry on top is that when you do this really well, Stephanie, they speak your praises, right? They don't report directly into you. You don't report directly into them, but they have influence in a company, right? And so if you are positioning yourself really well and your teams really well, and they speak with the leader of your department, they speak with VPs, they speak with your C-level team, and they're like, you know what, Stephanie is really amazing in how she's leading her team right now. Like her and her team are just so pleasant to work with. Yeah, they have challenges, they have problems that we're working through, but just the way that they speak with us and communicate with us and collaborate with us is such a night and day difference from some other teams that we work with. That's my goal for you, Stephanie, right? That you're using this to your intentional advantage while doing it in a very personable and empathic way. And so I don't think that it's a matter of prioritizing one over the other between peer network and cross departments. They both hold a huge weight in your career acceleration. But I will say, don't discount the importance of what that cross departmental collaboration looks like in your company because so many professionals overlook that. We stay in our own lane in our own department and don't realize the amazing impact it can have when we start leaning into that more. So I hope that helps give a little bit of like a tangible example of how I specifically used it, how we also really help coach our clients in elevating themselves in their organizations. Actually, really fun fact, one of our clients just this week shared a note while we were traveling earlier in Vegas, who did exactly this. She started her new role about 3 months ago and received this incredible gold star certificate, which is very rare, especially so early on in a company, because we really focused on building that support system. We really focused on collaborating across departments that gave her that recognition and exposure very early on. So this works. This really works. And hopefully that helps you, Stephanie. Let us know. Okay. Any thoughts from you, Jeremy, on
I
that?
yeah. I think it's a great question. I would only add, tangentially that one, leadership is not a position. You could serve as a leader to your organization and inspire teams across departments, across your organization to create a reputation that is absolutely killer. You
Yeah.
want to have a resonance and a halo around you, Stephanie, that speaks to everyone, that basically has a touch point with you. And here's why that's so important. One, leadership ultimately looks at folks who are grooming leaders within their teams. That, one of the things that we teach is not it's who you know, it's who knows you. And creating that personal brand is about creating that halo around you. That's number one. The other thing, and I think I may have shared this last week, most professionals, or many professionals, I should say, view advocacy as a kind of a binary one-way thing with their immediate boss. Here's the thing at the highest levels of a company. So when I was in the C-suite, unfortunately, I couldn't interact with every team, every department head. And when one direct report would come to me and talk about his or her team, that was one view of those people. What made a profound impact was hearing from other divisional heads
Mm.
who spoke the same praise of his or her teams, right? So essentially, when you seek for advocates, it goes beyond your direct boss. You want to have advocates at the same level of your boss or even higher across many departments, many divisions, to speak to Tiffany's point about collaboration, so that in those performance review meetings, in those leadership meetings, everyone is speaking highly of said person, not just the boss, right?
Hmm.
And that's where the resonance, that halo, really starts to spread. So, just two extra thoughts to Tiffany's
Yeah.
suggestions.
That's great, Jeremy. Thanks so much for adding. And I see Stephanie wrote terrific answer and support. I also was glad you addressed this for those who are interested in leadership roles. Yeah. We're always thinking a few steps ahead, Stephanie, because, everything really ties so closely together. And even if you're not at that leadership role yet, but it's something you aspire for, what you do today directly implicates where you go tomorrow. So we want to make sure that we're helping you guys really build those stepping stones without that guesswork. We know there's a lot of information out there. It can be super overwhelming. What do I do? How do I do it? When do I do it? What's the best way to go about it? So, if we can really help debunk some of that and make it feel a lot easier and get your results faster, we're two happy campers over here. And for what it's worth, I love these questions coming through because this is just like a little taste, guys, of what we're going to be covering more in depth within my free Career Growth Accelerator Masterclass coming up next week. This is an epic event, guys. I can tell you it is so timely for the year. There's a few months left. We've got to make them your best. This is the moment where companies are hiring, where internal advancement decisions are happening. And we want to make sure you get it right because lost time towards your goals is time you can't get back. And it is precious. Okay. We need to safeguard that for you. And so we would love to have you join us there. I know Jeremy's already shared the link to secure your spot over on LinkedIn and YouTube. Again, if you are joining us over on Instagram, just comment career directly on the live with us. You could also DM me career directly if that's easier for whatever reason. But we'll send you those details. It's coming up fast, guys. So please don't sleep on this. Once it's done, it's done. And we don't want you to miss this incredible event. And it's free. So you got nothing to lose and a lot to gain. Okay, let's keep going with questions. I think I covered most of them so far over on the Instagram side, Jeremy. I think we had another one come through. Would you mind pulling it back up from what we got earlier?
I just have to pull that question up. We have a
Yeah, we got it
couple. Can you give
earlier.
me a sec?
Yeah, of course, of
All right.
course. Yeah. And again, if anyone is just trickling in, welcome, welcome. This is our weekly Career Accelerator Q&A. We come live here every Wednesday and Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern time across LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube to take your questions. We know there's a lot of information and, content is great, but having that kind of direct interaction with you guys is really meaningful for us and for you. We want you to be able to learn the exact strategies that are working for our clients very effectively. Yes, this year, and yes, in this climate, and yes, with everything that we're hearing in terms of negativity in the market, we want to really feel a lot of positivity and direction and action that will help you get to where you want to go faster. And so that's why we focus on that here to help you level up your career, take control of your career. I promise it's a lot more fun when you are in the driver's seat instead of just letting things happen for you. Oh, Helen, I'm so happy that you've already signed up. We can't wait to have you there too. It's going to be amazing. Okay, Jeremy, did you pull up the
Yep,
question? Yeah?
I got the email. So this
Yeah.
is from Natasha K.
Okay.
And this
Tasha.
one's for you. So this one's for you. So she is currently working for a consumer brand in apparel and
Oh, nice.
actually wants to move into beauty.
Oh,
She's interviewing at both L'Oreal and Sephora, and she
nice.
wants to know what are some of the blind spots that may trip her up during the interview process when they ask about, the transversal nature of apparel
Oh,
to
yeah.
beauty.
Yeah, Natasha, this is a great question. There's actually a lot of parallels between the apparel industry and beauty, so much so that one industry is often inspired by the other, especially when it comes to the makeup side of beauty. It is so trend driven that when you think of apparel and styles changing out every season, beauty is very similar to that. And both markets are very fast moving and fast paced. So I would actually recommend that you look at the nature of your role on the apparel side and try to draw some of those parallels proactively as to how that pertains to the beauty side of the business. Right. And especially whether with Sephora or L'Oreal, these are brands that, yes, have makeup, but they have skincare, they have fragrance, they have hair care. So it's not to say that it's just on makeup that you would be focusing in, but more around just being in that kind of environment of keeping up with trends, keeping up with consumer demand, keeping up with consumer shifts. One thing when it comes on the beauty side, a lot of trends do come out of some Asian markets like Korea, as an example, with Korean skincare. So you might want to do a little bit more research as well on your end to see how am I pulling trends from the apparel side and how can that lend well if I were to enter in a role at Sephora or L'Oreal that will show that I already have this like innate ability to do that in my day to day. I think another thing, Natasha, that can help you a lot is speaking to people who actively work in your target companies and getting a feel of what their day to day looks like in the target role that you're entering. That's like the best hack that you can do because you'll know exactly, okay, this is the kinds of things that they focus on. That's actually really similar to what I do. And then I just have to maybe dial this up or not emphasize this part as much. And so getting that kind of direct insight will be invaluable for you. I don't know if you've already been doing this, but I would highly recommend shortlisting some people through LinkedIn that work at these companies that are in your target department, in your target function, that you can already possibly get on a quick DM conversation on LinkedIn, maybe hop on a quick exploratory call together and learn a little bit more about their experience and how that can also benefit you in the interview process. But moral of my story here, there's actually a lot of transversal skills that you bring to the table, whether it's apparel, beauty, or honestly other industries as a whole. Don't underestimate the soft skills that you have in your role and how that transcends into a different industry, right? Your organizational skills, your communication skills, your collaboration skills, that just to name a few. Being able to problem solve, being able to challenge the status quo, being able to take initiative. These are all things that are highly valued in environments like Sephora and L'Oreal, as an example, that from what you've shared, that are very fast paced, very dynamic. No 2 days are the same, and they also, are very consumer centric in the way that they think. So if you can bring those elements to the table, I think you're going to be in a really good spot. Yeah. And if for whatever reason, Natasha, you are looking for more direct support in this, more one on one support, we'd love to chat and help you with that. This is exactly the types of things we do with our clients that go a lot deeper in creating your specific path for success, and making sure that you have all the support and resources and coaching, of course, on your terms that are going to help you get there. So if you are interested, I'll maybe have Jeremy just drop the link to book a one on one clarity call with our team, or for anyone who's tuning in, please feel free to book a call with our team. We would love to speak with you. I can't emphasize it enough how important this moment of the year is to take that control. You don't want months or even, years to go by where you've missed out on opportunities because you just didn't know what to do and how to do it effectively. And if you are joining us over on Instagram, you could definitely comment call directly on the live, and we will share the details to book a free clarity call with our team just after this. Okay, amazing. Hopefully that helps you, Natasha. I'm not sure if you were able to join us live in the end, but thank you for submitting your question ahead of time. I'm just going to scroll back over here, Jeremy, while you maybe scan over on YouTube
Mhm.
or LinkedIn if I've missed any questions.
I got one on email as well, so I got a few. So
Yeah, okay, so
we
let's
get a lot
go.
from
I
our
know.
newsletter.
We get a
I
lot from
just
our newsletter. For those
we
of
we
you who
do
aren't part of
prioritize
our
live. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say for those of you who aren't part of our newsletter, we'll always tee up that we're doing these live. So that's why we get some questions like Friday morning as we remind people that we're coming live day of. So yes, absolutely. Okay, go ahead, Jeremy.
Okay, so this one is from, apologies in advance. I want to make sure I pronounce this right. Anurag. Um, okay, what's the best way to build relationships with senior leaders and decision makers?
Hmm. Okay. I can go on with this, but I'm going to throw it to you, Jeremy. Obviously, having been a seasoned executive for both a major retailer in Canada, but also building your own business and selling it 2 years ago with a publicly traded company. So I know you've seen your way around. What would you like to share for that? And then I'll add some thoughts too.
So it does depend somewhat on where you find yourself within your career, the level of seniority. But here are some overarching tips, Anurag. So the first is every conversation that you have is an opportunity to showcase that you are interested, not interesting. So far too often, folks will just try to kind of promote themselves and not show any interest in that leader's top priorities, top challenges. Fundamentally, that's what they're thinking about. Okay. So at the end of the day, leaders are basically facing the biggest opportunities or biggest challenges of the company. And the CEO, to some extent, is a distillation of the biggest fires that he or she needs to extinguish, right? It's gone through the ranks and now they're facing the biggest decisions that they need to kind of sign off on. So showing that you're interested as to what is most important to those people is one great way to build rapport and empathy. Okay. One of the analogies that I always say and I said to my team is stop looking through the lens of a microscope. View what you do and how you see things in the company through the lens of a telescope. Fundamentally, your leaders trust in you that you know how to do your role, you know how to deliver, and what they're looking for is the ahas or the so whats or the insights that will help them make decisions, again, to drive the business forward. Okay. So that's really, really important. Understanding what's top of mind to your leaders, fundamentally, I would say, is what's most important and will, to a certain extent, keep you top of mind just by showing that you're always curious, you're always, eager to learn, and that you're deeply empathetic. So I would say that's my, you know, the key takeaway that I want you to take away from this
Mm.
live.
Yeah, that's such a good question. And I love that answer, Jeremy, because that's really what it comes down to, right? That what's in it for them, bringing insights, bringing forward movement conversation that allows you to elevate yourself in your role, but also directly show them how you're bringing value to the company, right? If they see you as someone that is aligning with their goals, aligning with their objectives, making their job easier, that's going to give you a lot of cred internally of the value they place in you, the exposure you get, the opportunities that come your way. So just know how important that is. And to Jeremy's point, just remove yourself from like the day to day micro details, right? It can be really easy to just get caught up in what we have to do one day after the other after the other. But the risk there is that you run the chance of missing out on bigger opportunities or missing the bigger conversation or missing the biggest theme. And concretely, one question I would love to ask my own leaders, when I would be talking with them, or how we also share this with our clients, and kind of getting to the heart of what your leaders are really caring about, is even asking your boss or your boss's boss, when you have the opportunity, of like, what are the biggest hot topics right now inside the company, right? Or like, what are some of the pain points that are, keeping our CEO up at night right now? Or what are the main challenges that are top of mind for the next quarter? Like, these types of guiding questions are really helpful because it shows that it's coming from a good place. And then with that intel, you could then reflect back on your role of how you can improve in that, how you can help support them in that, how you can play an active role in building that genuine nature of, as Jeremy said, being interested, not just interesting. And it's that fine balance that you need to really manage well inside an organization.
I got two last things that
Yeah.
I just thought of.
Yeah. Go for it.
Apologies, Enric. I just thought of two more things. These are just some small tips. When you have an opportunity to interact with a leader, to empathize, to listen to what they say, and what they're thinking about, it is true that you should have maybe 2 or 3 wins or success stories or projects that you're working on that you've actually delivered and that are interesting to the company. Okay,
Mm,
so if the leader is talking about, priority ABC, try to see if you could tie it into things that you've been doing in the past couple weeks.
yeah.
Okay, so that's just a tip. Always have those handy.
Hmm.
The other thing that's really, really important, I would say, is that folks often listen to respond. I say this a lot, rather than to understand. So what you really want to do is understand what's keeping up, to Tiffany's point, what's keeping your leaders up at night. And how this translates is try to have more agency in your organization. What does that mean? It means that you're proactively tackling things before your boss, your boss's boss, and other leaders are asking for it. Because fundamentally, when you're the CEO, there's no one telling you essentially what to do. You're a self starter, you need to get things done. So when you showcase that you have high agency, you're working on the problem before it comes up in your status.
Yeah.
You have 3 solutions to an opportunity that's been coming up time and time again on your weekly, stand-up meetings or whatever. Shows that you have high agency. That shows a level that will set you apart from your peers without fail.
Hmm. That's amazing. Yeah. I echo all of this, all of this. I can tell you just that one tip of having the top projects top of mind, top wins top of mind, is such a confidence booster when you bump in to a senior leader or you're unexpectedly in, face to face contact with them. You don't want to look like a deer in the headlights being like, I don't know what to say. And then this opportunity just passed you over. We actually had, one of our clients this week tell me how they had the opportunity to be in front of their CEO. And thanks to this and the way that we really coach them through that, of having that handy and how to structure their points, they were like, oh my gosh, I shone in that moment. And it was like a 3-minute conversation, but something that they never would have thought to do or had known how to do before that. That's now gotten them on their radar, and, something that is really, really fun to see.
And
Okay.
avoid acronyms.
Yeah.
So, like for leaders, again, there's generational differences, cultural differences. Avoid things like, oh, what's your LTV to CAC? What's the ROAS for the marketing campaign? What's the bottom line, right? Leaders want to know how this is driving the business on a quarterly basis, leading into earnings reports, for big, significant statuses. Kind of take away from the nitty gritty ROAS, LTV to CAC, the details of what you do, and really speak the language this is how revenue is going to be impacted by this one thing. This is
Yeah.
how we're going to cut costs here. This is how we're going to improve EBITDA margin.
Yeah.
And then leaders typically will say, oh, what does that mean? How are you going to do that? And then you could kind of walk them through what even ROAS is, or a
Yeah.
marketing campaign, or so on.
I love that you're sharing that, Jeremy, because I think where a lot of professionals get it wrong when speaking with senior leaders or building relationships with leaders in their company, and even by the way, through networking and like looking for new opportunities. Guys, please don't make this mistake. So please write this down. Don't use fancy words. Okay. Like I know sometimes we feel like, oh, but they're so much more seasoned. They're our CTO. Like I have to make it sound super fancy. No, no, simple is always better. Simple is always better. And for what it's worth, this is actually a really important skill because if you can share something that's more complex or that can be shared in all this fancy language and you're actually able to do it in really simple, like layman's terms, do it. Do it. They will appreciate it. They will appreciate you. They will see that you're able to cut through the clutter and just get straight to the point and allow them to have the information they need to make informed decisions. So, simple is better than fancy. Okay. And I say this because we work with quite a few of our clients where English is not their mother tongue. And initially they get caught up in that, thinking that that's an insecurity for them, that they can't express themselves as well in terms of confident communication. And then we totally flip that on their head. We say, well, hang on a second. First, knowing multiple languages is a huge strong suit. So that's one. But two, don't try to put in fancy language. Keep it simple. Use, clean, easy words to deliver your message. That's actually going to work so much better than the other way around. Yeah.
And numbers.
Yeah. Totally. And numbers.
And numbers.
Be data driven. Yeah, you don't want to just
Yes.
go in with fluff and surface level commentary. You really want to show that you know your stuff. And that's why I always say when speaking with leaders, you are the closest one to your area of the business. So, yeah, they might be more experienced in a certain regard, but at the end of the day, they're counting on you to share what you know about your part of the business. And that's something that you do every day, not them. So, have confidence in that as well and how that comes forward.
I can't tell you how many times I've had meetings where folks will say, Jeremy, I feel that we should do this. I think that we should do this. And to myself, I'm asking, well, how does this person come to this insight? How
Yeah.
confident are you in this endeavor? So rather than saying, I think, I feel, one pro tip, if you have a suggestion or there's a problem in your organization or there's a roadblock that you're facing with your team or yourself, start with, here's the issue. I recommend that, 1, 2, 3, and here's how we could go about that, ABC. And then wrap it up with a question to your boss. Do I have your support on that? How do you think about that? Can I get your, can I have your back? Do you have my back on this one? So on and so forth. But just avoid the I thinks and I feels.
Yeah.
Always make sure you have data ready to go before you get into these meetings. So if there's a problem, if there's a problem that you're facing, if there's an opportunity you want to pursue and you need budget and you need buy-in,
Yeah.
have data ready to go and have solutions to propose.
Totally. Yeah. That's like one of the most important things you guys can do, right? Prove it. Prove that you know your stuff. Don't base it off of emotion, base it off of fact. That's like one of the best things you can do, especially when speaking with leaders. And by the way, this applies very much with networking and interviews as well, right? Don't just say that in theory you've done something or you can do it. Show how you've done this thing and the results that it's brought or the results that it can bring to this other
Mhm.
organization as well. These are some great
I
questions.
have one last thing.
Yeah, yeah, go for it. I'm just seeing if there's any other questions coming through, guys. Please don't be shy. We have a little time left, so we can
So
take a few more.
So for those of you who, are not comfortable presenting, you get stressed, you fumble sometimes when presenting at a team status or a quarterly meeting. One pro tip, don't ever overshare. Okay. If someone says, hey, what's our return percentage on this product, on this SKU? If you don't know the answer, don't just blurt out a number that is wrong. It will come back to you in and bite you.
Oh,
If
yeah.
you are unsure of your answer, it is better to say, thank you, Jeremy, for that question. If it's okay with you, can you give me an hour after our meeting and I'll get that information right away to you? I want to be sure that I'm providing the group with accurate, timely information. I myself, as the CEO of a company that had to report publicly to the NASDAQ. Okay, so we were a publicly traded company. I was the head of one of the divisions. I didn't have the answers all the time in every meeting, but these are numbers that you cannot get wrong. And so it's just so much better to say, hey, I'll get you that answer as soon as possible,
Yeah.
rather than saying something that's completely off that could
Mhm.
throw off completely a press release, that could throw off the team, that could derail, morale. So really just take the time to say, hey, I'll get you that information as soon as possible. So avoid saying, a number that's completely way off,
Yeah.
unless you have an approximation that you feel very comfortable sharing.
Yeah, totally. You're reminding me, Jeremy, I one of my bosses at L'Oreal said this statement and it just stuck with me for years and it's inspired by what you're sharing. He said, Tiffany, you'd rather be approximatively right than precisely wrong. And I'm like,
I like
"Yep,
that.
yep, that's very true," right? So if you can pretty much ballpark the answer and you're pretty close enough, go for it and answer. But precisely wrong will never serve you well. So if you have no clue and you know that you put out any information or number and it could be totally off what it needs to be, do not give that answer. Take Jeremy's strategy 100%, get the right information, and then make sure that you're covering yourself and your credibility. Okay, amazing. Any other questions, guys? I know we've gone through quite a bit today. And again, this is really fun spending some of my birthday with you guys today. So we do appreciate you joining us live, whether over on Instagram, LinkedIn, or YouTube. Again, if you haven't already, please save your spot for our free masterclass happening next week. It's going to be amazing. It's all around how to level up in your career, get something that is going to accelerate you into your next roles, get faster promotions, get more money coming your way. We're going to be sharing the strategies that are working so well for our clients this year, and they're strategies that you can implement right away. So if you are finding already our lives helpful, like we're going to go a lot deeper in our masterclass with some of my proven templates and how to's that you can really leverage right now. You could sign up directly over on LinkedIn with the link that Jeremy has shared, or on YouTube. And then on Instagram, please just comment career and I'll send you the details to save your spot if you haven't already. Yeah. Okay. I think we have another live question. Go for it.
Yeah, so we have a question from Philomena. I apologize if I didn't pronounce that correctly. You seem to want to have to ask a finance question. So please go ahead in the live chat, share your question. I'm happy to answer any finance question that could be helpful to you.
Okay.
Hopefully, we get that as we kind of wrap
Yeah.
up today's session. Don't
Yeah.
be shy. Anything is on the table.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm going to scroll back up to see, but I think we covered the ones that came through earlier. And if there's any last questions, I'm going to scroll through Instagram to make sure we didn't miss any. But again, this is your time with us, guys. We want to make sure that we're covering all questions, whether you're looking for a new opportunity right now, whether you're looking to advance in your organization, feeling stuck, feeling frustrated, feeling like you're just not in control of your career, or that things are happening to you instead of making them happen. We'd love to put you in the driver's seat. It's a lot more fun that way. And what a timing of the year to do it. We're in the last stretch, about not even 4 full months left of the year anymore. And I don't mean to say that to kind of fast track our time, but more to just put the importance of, like, there's no time like now to take action, guys. And that's why we're specifically hosting our free masterclass next week, because we know and we've been getting a lot of questions and we want to just put that all in one place so that you know what to do, how to do it, both through, my own lived experience and what's been working so well for, over 1,000 clients that have been landing incredible opportunities internally and externally. And we want the same for you guys. So, yeah, we can't wait to see you there. I think I've covered all the questions over on Instagram. Philomena, we don't see your question yet. So we'll maybe hang tight another few seconds to see if it comes in. If for whatever reason, guys, we didn't get to a question that you had, it's possible we just didn't see it come up. But you can
We
always message us after and we'd be happy to share some thoughts there.
do
Um,
we have time for one more?
yeah, I think we have time for one
Okay.
more. Let's go for
So
it.
this is from Michelle. Thank you, Michelle. Any advice on companies asking for presentations on final, I assume, interview?
Uh-huh.
Happy birthday, Tiff.
Oh, thanks, Michelle. Yeah, actually, we're doing this with two of our active clients right now, helping them put together their presentation decks and make sure that it's top notch, because it's an important piece. So, yes, that could be part of the specific interview process that you're doing. It's not uncommon. I think one of the most important things if you are asked to do that and putting together a presentation in your interview is have really clear scope of what that entails. So sometimes they will give you like a case or a context to work from or questions to specifically answer in your presentation. They will often give you a little bit of parameters of okay, maybe you'll have 20 minutes to present your presentation and then 10 minutes for Q&A. Maybe it's a 45-minute presentation and then Q&A after that. So you kind of want to get a sense because that will also help indicate for you how long this presentation needs to be. What one of the most important things, though, Michelle, when you're doing a presentation like this, is even beyond what you show and the look and the aesthetic, which does matter. We want it to look professional. We want it to be a good representation of you and your professionalism. What's even more important is showing them the way you think, right? Because when they're doing these presentations, it's to give a good sense of what it would be like having you on the team. Like if you were to start tomorrow, if you got this as a project on day one, they already want to see how Michelle is going to deliver on this, right? And so, yes, you're going to want to show them how you're thinking through your decisions, your considerations, your recommendations, showing maybe inspired from a previous example of what you've done in the past, how that could work for them. And that's exactly what we've done with one of our clients interviewing at Meta right now, where in the way we structured the presentation, it was a combination of what they are asking, but we also layered in one of her tangible past examples of how she's done exactly that. And it was a very powerful way of framing the presentation. So it's not just theory and what I could do, but it's also like, well, this is actually what I've done. And so if you need me to do this, this is how I've done that. And that's how that's going to bring value for you. As a last quick pro tip here, Michelle, make sure that you're stating your assumptions at the beginning of your presentation. Whether it's a case presentation or not, it doesn't really matter. You do want to state assumptions as to the basis of what your presentation is. Because you might share something that they're actually doing right now, but there's no way for you to know that, right? You're not in the company, it's private information that's not shared publicly. So make assumptions saying, something like, assuming that holds true, this is what I've used as the basis for the following, slides in my presentation or my recommendation in the presentation. And then that just covers your basis really well so that you don't put your foot in your mouth or they can't come back and say, oh, but we're doing this or you didn't ask about that. It's like, well, no, those were my assumptions. So it's kind of a little bit of a saving grace when you're presenting these things. Yeah. Jeremy, any thoughts for you on
I
that
think that
question?
covers it. It does cover it. And I did get clarification on the finance question. So if you are still watching this live, it kind of falls outside of the career track. So I would suggest that you get in touch with our team or you join our newsletter list, email us, and maybe we could provide some insights on the finance question, if that's all right.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Okay, fantastic. Well, I think we'll probably wrap up there for today, guys. We got some great questions coming in. Thank you so much for being here and taking this time. We hope that we've brought some energy to your Friday as you close out the week. Again, as a reminder, we come live every Wednesday and Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time to take your questions, help you accelerate and uplevel your career on your terms, and remove all of the guesswork by getting just proven strategies that's working right now for our clients and how you can implement that as well. And as a final reminder, if you haven't already, please do save your spot for our upcoming free Career Growth Accelerator Masterclass. It's going to be wonderful. It's going down next week. We have multiple dates and time options that you can pick from. Please go ahead and register your seat directly over on LinkedIn with the link that Jeremy shared and on YouTube. And then if you are joining us from Instagram, please comment career on the live before we hop off, or DM me career right after this, and we'll make sure we send you those details to save your spot. But we're so excited. We have a great turnout from what it's looking like already. And we can't wait to meet you guys next week and give you some of our deep dive how to's and templates that's going to really change the game in your career. Any last words from you, Jeremy?
We can't wait to see you next week.
Amazing. Let's do this thing. All right, guys. Well, we will be connecting back here soon. We hope you have a wonderful weekend. And again, thanks for taking the time and making my birthday extra special today. All right. Bye, everyone. Speak
Bye.
soon.